This conference will now be recorded.
Which one? I can turn that off, really? Okay, good. I'm good. Are you far enough away from me? Good. Yes, sir. Oh, this is a long one. Let's do the short one.
As a quick verification, can everyone hear us if you're joining us virtually? Great, awesome. Thank you for the thumbs up.
Okay, now the 20-minute process of doing a quorum. Is it? Where's it? The camera county? I mean, in the courthouse, or where's it? I might go in on the. Yeah. Yeah. I know. And it's the fifth one. We're working on the sixth one, and hardly anything changed. And I thought, well, let's go back and see how accurate we were 25 years ago in our projections, because we projected, and they didn't think there was a vote. They didn't think there was important. We know we were going out, and I said, well, how would you know how accurate are going? Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order for Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council for the meeting of March 31st, 2021. And the first item of business is the call to order and the roll call. Debbie?
Mayor Jim Darling.
Present.
Aurelio Guerra, Judge Aurelio Guerra, Willacy County. Anybody from Willacy County on the line? Mayor Ambrosio Hernandez, or representative from City of FAR. Mayor Chris Boswell. Mayor Trey Mendez.
I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Mayor David Suarez. Commissioner David Garza.
Present.
Thank you, sir. Is Commissioner Everardo Villarreal on the line? From Hidalgo County. Commissioner Pilar Garza. Councilman Johnny Garcia. He texted me that he was on the line. Oh, there he is. He texted me that he's here. Okay. Commissioner Rick Salinas Lyford.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Oscar Montoya, City of Mercedes.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Nori Garza. Councilwoman Nori Garza, City of Mission. Mayor George Rivera, Palm Valley.
Here.
Mayor Jorge Ledesma, Primera.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Edward Gonzalez, Raymondville. Mayor Rick Guerra, San Benito. City of San Juan, Marco Viegas.
Yes, Robert Escobar here for Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Veronica Gonzalez, UTRGV. Or Richard Sanchez, UTRGV. Mr. Paul Hernandez, South Texas College. Marisela De Leon, TSTC.
Present.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Troy Allen. Mr. Ronald Mills. Ms. Celas Sanchez. Mr. Eleazar Yogi Garcia. Mr. Sergio Contreras. Ms. Cristina Patino Hool.
Present.
Nori Gonzalez, Nori Garza just texted me that she is present. Does that count if it's a text?
Yes, it does.
Okay. 1, 2.
Even if they wave and we don't
7,
hear them
8,
or see them or text them, it counts.
9. I do not have a quorum. I do not have a quorum at this point.
How many more we need?
Okay, let's see. We got Veronica. And Alice. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4,
Veronica.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We need 14 for a quorum. Who else might have jumped on?
I'm on. Veronica Gonzalez.
Yes, ma'am.
County, this is Mayor George from Central Valley.
Yes, sir. I have you counted.
Thank you.
And there's 9. Yeah. I don't see any other. I have him.
Not sure if I unmuted in time, but this is Christina from the Equal Voice Network.
Yes, ma'am. I got you counted. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
So I have several people who indicated they would be on, but I do not see them and they have not responded.
We're 4 short.
4 or 2?
3, 2. Thank you. It's too short. Nepal, 1.
It is 12:05 only. Zoom on.
Yeah, I turned the camera off though, but I noticed it looked terrible.
Is that Sergio Contreras?
You're on Zoom right now.
I am, but I don't have the camera on.
Rick, this is Rick Salinas. Commissioner Gonzalez, Edward Gonzalez will be getting on in just a few seconds from Ravenville.
From me. Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, appreciate it. We now have a quorum. So the next item is the invocation. If you please bow your heads. Dear Lord, bless us as we gather here today to conduct business that will affect the citizens of the Rio Grande Valley. To act in their best interest, not ours. We ask that you bless our speakers and that they would bless our time together today. May we grasp those things you want us to understand, and may our actions and our attitudes please you this day. We pray these things in your holy name. Amen. Okay, now we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, or please. We have a flag. There it is. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item is consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes from February 24th, 2021, which have been mailed out to y'all.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Garza seconds it.
We have a second. Any additions or deletions? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Opposed, say aye. Motion carries. A public comment. We have one person on public comment. Marciela De Leon from the Regional Executive Director of Government Affairs for TSTC. Marciela, are you on? in the top. Okay. Go ahead, you're on.
Can't hear you, Marcella.
Okay, there we go. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I just wanted to say just to formally introduce myself to each and every one of you. My name is Marisela De Leon. I am with TSTC, serving as their Regional Executive Director of Government Affairs. I took on the role come February 1st. So I'm not new to the Valley. I am from Edinburgh, Texas, and very proud to start this new role and looking forward to I know with some of you, I have working relationships that I've established over the years, working in the legislature. And some I see that were peers in grad school. But nonetheless, just wanted I wanted for you to hear from me personally. Please feel free to reach out to me should you feel that there is an idea that you would like to talk about. See if we could possibly move forward together in any project. Whatever the case may be, feel free to reach out. I want to be as accessible as I can and looking forward to be a part of this organization with you all.
Okay, Marciela, anybody, any questions? Congratulations. Thank you very much for participating.
No questions, Mayor Darling. This is Commissioner Garza.
Yes, sir.
If I could take about 30 seconds. We do have, and I want to thank Manny and his crew over there for helping us. We've got the Army Corps of Engineers doing a tour of our 3-county region yesterday, today, and tomorrow. They're in Hidalgo today. The major has come in from the Army Corps, and he's got a group of about 5 people with him. They are observing a lot of the different issues that we have down here. Hidalgo County Drainage District, I know, presented this morning to them. They're headed to Willacy County as we speak. And I just want to thank Manny and his crew for helping us facilitate all this. Another great opportunity is staring us in the face with that group. So we look forward to bringing more good news to the council and, of course, all the municipalities and counties in it.
Yes, as a germane comment, if I could, one of the issues that we're facing right now is when they abandoned the walls, the construction of the walls, on the levee system, they left some of the areas with foundations that were half built, etc. And so there's a pending contract with the federal government to improve the breaches to the levees, but not necessarily build the walls. And so that has not been signed. We're heading into hurricane season. So anytime you talk to any of your representatives, if you can mention that that needs to be done ASAP, that'd probably be good for everybody.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. The next item is administration under item A, consideration and an action to approve a lease agreement between the LRGVDC and the regional MPO. Mr. Cruz?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome again. So before I begin, had some very sad news for our board. One of our staff unfortunately passed away March 2nd, Ms. Mary Villarreal. So we're indebted to her because she worked with the Area Agency on Aging for a very long time, and before that with the state on public service and social services, helping out our elderly. So she will greatly be missed. And again, I ask you for a few moments of silence just to commemorate her. Thank you. Moving on, first of all, welcome, Ms. De Leon. Great to have you on board. Look forward to working with you. Our first action item is consideration and action to approve lease agreement between LRGVDC and MPO. As you saw in your packets, the MPO has requested to relocate to City of Edinburgh at our Valley Metro Transportation Facility. It's a very large facility that's able to accommodate their growing staff. As you know, they're in the process of bringing on board additional staff, and the current location does not necessarily accommodate all their staff they're going to bring on board. So at this time, we have included this lease agreement as required by the FTA. and to satisfy any grant, audit requirements that need to be met. So we're recommending approval for this request.
Any questions?
Commissioner Garza?
Yes,
Go ahead.
this is Commissioner Salinas Lyford. We're moving the MPO from where to McAllen?
Currently, the MPO resides here in Westlaco at our Valley Metro facility, and they are relocating. They're actually relocating tentatively to multiple locations. But their I guess main operation would be out of Edinburgh at our Valley Metro transportation facility there on 107 University. And the other location that's tentatively being reviewed is a city of Brownsville facilities.
And what's included in the lease agreement? Is there a monetary lease agreement or just?
Yes. The lease agreement will be the cost will be $1.50 per square feet, and I believe it's on the screen. And again, currently programs do contribute a lease or rent to pay for the space, with the exception of the folks that are here in the main office. Obviously, as you know, Valley Metro and Transportation, or RGV MPO and Valley Metro part of the transportation, part of the FTA requirements, because it's a brand new building. Obviously, they do require that we, present this at a fair market value to any local government entity or within the organization. And at this point in time, it would be the MPO, RGV MPO, that's going to be working out of that building.
I didn't see the numbers. I've been going through the lease agreement here. Anyway, is there a big change on the amount of money that's going to be paid at the McAllen versus the Westlaco?
They're going to be located in Edinburgh. Currently, they currently lease out of the development facility, and I believe the current amount is estimated under $2,000. And so moving to the new facility, which is a larger building, currently I believe the square footage, I think it's 2,000 square feet. They're going to be relocating to a 6,000 square foot facility. The price is going to be $1.50 per square feet monthly, with a total amount of $9,900 per month.
And they're not moving from McAllen, they're moving from part of their operation from here over in Westlaco at the terminal,
I believe Mr. Edward Cannon presented this before his board.
Excuse me. Somebody needs to mute their phone. There's a lot of background.
Manny, this is Mayor George Rivera. You mentioned the location looking at in Brownsville. Is that what I heard?
There's two possible locations. The main location would be Edinburgh, and the other satellite office would be tentatively right now until approved would be Brownsville, City of Brownsville. And Mr. Andrew Cannon is here as well to answer any questions related to the move or the program.
when does lease commence?
This lease is subject to obviously board approval, and once we receive authorization from their funding agency to move forward, obviously there's more to this that the program will incur, such as relocation, moving fees and such. And so it's all pending this board's approval, and obviously ultimately the funding agency, TxDOT's approval as well.
So if we approve it today, then the effective date will be when the subsequent approval from TxDOT happens. Right?
Yes, Mr. President, we have right now a budget amendment that we're doing that TxDOT is waiting for the MPO to do to show those costs associated with relocation that Manny just mentioned. We want to be certain that those go through the process of being approved, because then that gives Manuel comfort that he will be reimbursed for those expenses, such as moving, new equipment, new office furniture, things like that. The lease will be able to commence after we receive final approval from TxDOT on that budget approval. And as far as the Brownsville office, we are very hopeful. I visited with elected officials or city managers from every city within the MPO. Received nothing but positive feedback. We're going to be discussing it a little bit this afternoon at the MPO board meeting. The purpose of the port in Brownsville is to provide us greater connectivity and a seamless system through. We're waiting for Federal Highways to prove that. They go by a mantra, if you will, is it reasonable and necessary? So that's something that we're trying to work with them to show the reasonableness of it. It may not necessarily fall under necessary, but we think that it would be a good facet to have there. We would be the only MPO in the state of Texas with 2 offices in satellite areas. So that is something that we're working with them as well. And the city of Brownsville has sent over a lease for TxDOT to look at and approve along with Manny's draft, and Federal Transit Administration has approved the rate for the transit building there in Brownsville as well. So we're crossing all our T's and dotting our I's, and we're very optimistic about the outcome.
You know, it's kind of the relationship is we're the administrative entity for the MPO. So you don't have authority to contract directly with the city of Edinburgh. It's an operational function of the MPO, or that's why we have to approve them.
That would be correct, Mayor. Being that the COG is the fiscal agent for the MPO, we go through the contractual authority of the COG in any of those items that we enter into, whether it be a consultant or something like a lease for outside space like that, or even for internal space with it being a Valley Metro building, but then that provides them some security to the longevity of the income coming off of the building as well.
I kind of understand it, but it says it's agreement between the COG and the MPO, and where's the city of Edinburgh in that lease? We would only be approving your ability to enter into the lease, and we'd be a fiscal agent, but you'd be responsible for all the lease obligations, whatever those are within that lease agreement. Is that correct?
Correct. The only thing that we've spelled out so far in the lease agreement that the COG would have to pick up independent from what we have now is like custodial services.
So we'd have to.
And internet. No, sir, the MPO would pick that up.
Okay.
The lights are part of the lease agreement. Of course, the phones aren't really an issue because we use VoIP. So as part of our internet services, our phone system works seamlessly. We're trying to make sure that it does with here at the COG.
So the lease would be then between the COG and the city of Edinburgh?
No, that's the lease is between LRGVDC and RGV-MPO because it is a
I got
metro
it.
facility.
We're leasing our facility. I got it. Never.
Yes.
Edinburgh's just this location.
And if we do, the lease agreement would be between
LRGV.
really it's the LRGVDC and the city of Brownsville for that space that is there,
Okay.
with us being an occupant on that lease.
Got it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I got a
Sorry.
question.
Okay, so I hear that. So the agreement is between LRGVDC and the MPO. I have a motion to approve.
I got a question, sir. I have a couple more questions. I got a question. This is to Commissioner Salinas. The first one is, what is the space that you have right now at the Wesselco? How much space do you have there?
Are you asking me
How much
that?
square feet do you have there?
Are you asking me that
Whoever
question?
wants to answer that question.
We have about 2,000 square feet.
So you have 2,000 square feet at the Wesselco, and you're looking to move
Yes,
for for the same amount of space.
No, sir.
No,
The Edinburgh offices are over 6,000 square feet.
And the satellite office in Brownsville that you're looking to create, basic or really in both facilities, how much staff is going to be in each one of those facilities?
We're looking to have 8 staff members at the facility in Edinburgh and 4 at the facility in Brownsville. All 4 of the staff members that would be at the facility in Brownsville live in Cameron County.
I have a question, sir. Did you look at other cities or you were just looking into Edinburgh?
We didn't look into any city. This building is owned by the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council, and as our fiscal agent, it allows us to stay within their network, if you will. We lease space from the LRGVDC now, and it would just be a continuation of leasing space from the COG, just in a different location.
And the satellite office in Brownsville, what's the square footage over there?
That square footage, I do not know off the top of my head because it's in a common work area, but the city of Brownsville is also providing furniture in that area and a conference room that would be designated strictly for the staff over there for the MPO. But they are providing cubicles, chairs, cabinets, a conference table, conference chairs, whiteboard, and some other materials as a part of their lease.
And what would be the cost of the satellite office in Brownsville per month?
15 a square foot. About $600 a month.
Okay, any more questions? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the lease agreement between the COG and the MPO, subject to the state of.
I move to approve.
Commissioner Garza seconds the motion.
Okay, we have motion second. All in favor, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item is the Executive Director report. Mr. Cruz.
Prior to that, Mayor, we do have a presentation from the Economic Development Administration. Mr. Robert Pletch, I believe he's on the line to provide the presentation on EDA,
Okay.
upcoming projects or funding.
Okay, I'm looking at a different agenda than you. Okay, all right, let's go.
Robert, hang on a second. We'll get you dialed up here in just a second. Alrighty. Robert, Mr. Pate, you're ready to go, sir. Robert, Mr. Pate, are you with us? Muted. Robert, I think you need to enable your audio, sir.
Can we entertain a motion to move it down the line?
Yeah, why don't we work on that? If you could give him a call.
I shall move.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
give him a call.
We don't have to do, we can skip that and we'll come back to that. So next item is Executive Director report. Manny?
Okay. Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Just going to go through the Executive Director's report really quick. Okay, so item number one, just wanted to, let you all know that since last month, we did have an increase in staff, just as an update, so you're familiar with who we have on board, just to put a face to the name. Under Area Agency on Aging, we hired Ms. Vanessa Salinas and Carla Perez, and under Public Safety, Ms. Olga Rodriguez. Under RGV MPO, Mr. Juan Peña, Mr. Christopher Nelson, Mr. Javier Dominguez, and under Public Safety, and this would be today as part of the competitive hiring process, we opened up 2 positions under Public Safety and under Admin, Business Operations. So Public Safety, Ms. Monique Calvan and Mr. Juan Macias are the 2 that applied for and were selected for those positions. Item number 2, under legislative updates, as of Monday, March 22nd, it marked the halfway point of the 140-day legislative session. Our partners at Texas Association of Regional Councils, TARC, is tracking over 300 bills, approximately 341 to be exact, that might be of interest to the regional councils or LRGVDC. The updated TARC bill tracking summary was provided in your packet as a separate attachment. There you'll be able to see the 341 bills that they're tracking on our behalf. And so if anyone has any questions or comments, opinions, or feedback on any of the bills, please make sure to reach out to myself, and we'll get that for you and trickle up to TARC with any comments. Also, you'll see on the slide or your packet, you'll see the from members of the legislative have filed over a total of 6,919 bills this session. The chart depicts, the level or the amount of bills compared to other prior sessions. Some of the bills, topics of discussion relate to, for example, HB 5, relating to the expansion of broadband services for certain areas, especially rural areas. That's the topic of high discussion. Legislators are very interested also in the electric power redundant system. Those two are the hot topics as far as we can tell. There's other number of bills that we are tracking that relate or might impact our programs. As you know, HB 2911 is related to the next generation 911 service. That's to be able to increase the fees from 50 cents upward. And so the other bills that we've identified, just so you all know, I think this came as a request from our president, Mayor Darling, the Texas Open Meetings Act. There's about 5 bills in total that have been submitted and were sent to committee for review to modify the Texas Open Meetings Act to include such things as virtual conferences or teleconference calls during public meetings. Those are the bills that we are currently tracking. And obviously there's others. And again, the summary that was provided to you, feel free to look at that. And it's a fluid situation when it comes to all these 241 bills. They're changing on a weekly basis. So I'll be more than happy to email that information as we receive it, from TARC. Under item number 3, the COVID-19 vaccination. As you know, again, working with Mayor Darling back in January timeframe when the vaccines were being developed, he identified an issue on vaccinating the elderly. So the homebound elderly population on the list that we took on as part of our Meals on Wheels area agency on aging, along with Amigos del Valle, total about under 3,000, 2,937 to be exact. And so since then, we've pretty much completed that based on our input, or the input that Amigos del Valle has provided. We were able to assist some of the cities, preferably the providers, vaccine providers, with our resources, just so you all know that we were intricately involved within our programs. For example, 911 provided the GIS map plotting all the locations of the elderly that were on the list, and our Valley Metro assisted as well by providing transportation resources to these communities. One of the resources that we provided was 2 buses to City of Weslaco, or the Weslaco Office of Emergency Management this month, to be able to transport over 50 patients from the John Knox Village over to the vaccination hub in Weslaco. So we understand that these efforts obviously are ongoing. The number that I mentioned, under 3,000, that's just the ones that were documented on Meals on Wheels. We understand that there might be others, other homebound or bedridden patients. And as you all know, on March 25th, Governor Abbott was in the area and provided a press release at the McAllen main fire station to announce the Save Our Seniors initiative. That's they're spearheading here in Hidalgo County. And so the The LRGVDC will continue its efforts and coordinating with DPS and the Texas National Guard during Operation Save Our Seniors. We will continue to provide the resources that we have available. They tasked us with identifying other homebound residents, and thus far we've identified about 250 homebound bedridden patients. We're currently working with our 911 program to identify those, plot those on the map, and coordinate. We will be coordinating with DPS and the Texas National Guard to provide that information here at the end of this week, early next week. So a great effort has been put forward by all to ensure that the most vulnerable population has been taken care of through these past couple of months. So I want to thank everybody that was involved in this initiative. And again, we're moving forward to continue this effort. At this time, I'll pass it over to Mayor Darling if he has any remarks.
No, just thank all the entities, all the cities that participated in it, and it's a successful program. And hopefully now with the governor's help, we'll get all the remaining people that were shut in. And it was a great action by it, and thank the COG staff for what they did. Okay, next.
Number four, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Other than funding being allocated, that's going to be we are going to receive some funding. So I just started to put this on the agenda so we can have this on our radar. And so thus far, I know we here at the LRGVDC have been tracking a couple of allocations based on the bill. And so thus far, we've identified that the following programs will eventually receive some funding under this plan, such as our Health and Human Services, AAA, Transportation, Economic Development, and Homeland Security. Texas will receive about 16.7 billion, and 10 billion will be, not of that, but in addition to the 16 billion, 10 billion will be allocated to local jurisdictions within the state of Texas.
Yeah, we're a little different than most cities where there's zero balanced budget. And so we normally spend 100% of our funds each year. So this is going to be a little unusual for us. So we're going to see these funds. And so if we're not going to spend them, we need to get together as a board and staff and figure out how we're going to best utilize this money, as opposed to some cities are able to put it in their general fund by spending other items and carry it over to next budget years. But we don't do that. So it's going to be a little bit of challenges for us to use the money effectively, I think.
And other than the total amount of funding that's on the plan, we don't have very much guidance as far as the actual programmatic, allowable costs. And I'm sure, like the first round of funding, those are currently being developed as the money is allocated. So we'll just stand by for that, and that concludes the end of my report. Thank you.
Yeah, my suggestion on that is we have an executive committee meeting, and when we do receive the funding, figure out how we're going to do that, and certainly would invite any members that are interested, but at least initially meet with staff and executive committee to come up with a proposal to take back to the board. Okay, any questions on the report so far? Hearing none, the next item is 5, department reports, community development, Rick Care, but the first item is 5A1, and that's for the road recycling disposal service request. We need to have a motion to take that off the table.
Mayor Darling, if I may go back to the previous item and ask a question, please, before we move on.
Yes,
is there any amounts that you have been given as to the possible amounts for each category that you mentioned, Manny?
Not at this time, sir. If the allocations are there, it's for the entire program. For example, transportation as a whole, you're looking at over 26 billion for that particular program. So as of yet, we've started to receive emails from state agencies to start conducting, planning meetings or webinars to go over some of these requirements or actually the actual allocation. So at this point in time, the state is trying to do the allocation based on certain formulas. So at this time, we don't have an exact amount, for example, for the region.
Okay, because I know that the counties and the cities in our respective areas have all been given a number of what we can expect. and I didn't know if you guys had been given a number yet.
No, not us, but I'm aware that some of the cities do have already.
In the nature, I think they'll have, the cities and the counties have a little more flexibility in how they can allocate that money and spend that money on them and put it in a general fund for others. We don't have that luxury with the Council of Governments. We'll have to be more diligent on how we spend that money. Okay.
Thank you.
Questions? Hearing none. We'll go back, if we could, to the presentation on Economic Development Administration. I think we worked out all the kinks.
Yes, in the end, Robert Pache, thank you, everybody. I'd like to welcome Mr. Robert Pache with Economic Development Administration. He has agreed, in the interest of time, to just kind of make some statements, and of course, he'll make the presentation available to anybody if they want to have it after the fact. But I'll go ahead and let Mr. Pache have the floor.
Very good. Thank you very much, Rick. President Darling, thank you very much. And members of the board, thank you very much for the opportunity to visit with you briefly this afternoon. I know you all have a pretty full agenda, so I'll make my comments brief. I know I've met some of you, but my position is as the economic development representative for really what is really the kind of the southwestern part of Texas. And so I serve your area in helping local governments and economic development nonprofits put together projects that can be funded by EDA. We're typically a very small agency within commerce, but we work very closely with our districts, which are the councils of governments, to help put together and help support local economic development for job creation and attraction of private sector investment. So we do this year in and year out. We've been doing this since 1965, the passage of the Public Works and Economic Development Act during President Johnson's tenure back in 1965. So in any event, as I mentioned, we've been doing this year in and year out. Over the last few years, however, in addition to our regular public works programs and economic adjustment and planning, et cetera, we have been really responding more and more to economic adjustment needs, specifically brought on by both natural disasters and most recently by the economic disaster that's been wrought upon the country by the COVID-19 pandemic. So most of you probably know that a couple of years, well, not a couple of years ago, really last year, Congress passed and the president signed the CARES Act, which allocated to EDA $1.5 billion nationwide for funding of economic development projects. And in the Austin region, we had an amount of those funds that were allocated to the Austin region. And we were able to put together an effort to fund a number of projects throughout Texas and the 4 surrounding state regional territory. And so we've gone through that, and we've worked with y'all, with the district, in putting together those efforts. Now this year, as y'all know, and it was just covered, President Biden and the administration have, Congress passed and the president signed the American Rescue Plan Act. And in it, there's been allocated to EDA twice the amount of money, about $3 billion, for support of economic development projects, again, on a nationwide level. Now, I have to say that right now, we haven't developed, we're in the midst, our headquarters folks are in the midst of developing our notice of funding opportunities, which is basically the rules and regulations that we use to administer those funds and get them out nationwide. So within 60 days, we'll have the notice of funding opportunity published. And once it is published, we'll be in a position to start accepting applications for projects at the local level and at the regional level as well, to support economic development efforts. Oh, and I see, okay, great. And I see the slide presentation that is up, and that is available for you to peruse at your leisure at a later date. But if you could go on to the next slide, please. And that's the American Rescue Act. And so as you can see, we're thinking that, we're not sure, we're thinking that the notice of funding opportunity will be somewhat similar, at least to what we did in CARES Act last year. And within about 6 weeks to maybe at the most the end of May, we'll have the notice of funding opportunity published. And again, that'll be the rules and regulations that we'll be able to use to administer projects. So what I'm doing, and what the purpose of my appearing before you today is to really ask that you start to think about, if you haven't already, which I know you all always do, think about projects that you can request funding for at the local and the regional level to really help to put together some significant economic development initiatives to basically help solidify or bring up segments of the economy that perhaps aren't as strong as you would like them to be. So, what I'm really asking you all to do is kind of put on your thinking caps to think in terms of the local communities, as well as a wider regional approach in coming up with projects that will impact not only your local community, but the greater Rio Grande Valley area, and help to bring new job creation opportunities to the local level. So, with that, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of this opportunity. So again, I thank Manuel and his staff. Obviously, Rick, I work with Rick real closely all the time. But I thank you all for the opportunity to appear before you. And of course, I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all may have right now. But again, more than anything else, this is really a kind of a request for you to think about projects that will make a difference in your community. Now, up on the screen right now, you see my contact information. And as I said, I am assigned to that area, to your area. My area goes from obviously Brownsville to Victoria, up through the middle part of the state, through the Midland Odessa area, and then all the way over to El Paso. So I cover a big area, but it wouldn't be possible without the very close relationships that we have with the districts, with the councils of governments. And so again, I'll extend thanks to Manuel and Rick for their constant attention to these possibilities. So again, with that, I will just end my remarks, and if we have a couple of minutes for some questions, happy to entertain a couple of questions if y'all would like. Otherwise, please contact me at the information up on your screen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Petch. Anybody have any questions? I have one. They just announced the huge infrastructure proposals today. This money doesn't include that. That's new money that hasn't been decided how that's going to be. It's kind of in concept what it's going to be used for in infrastructure, bridges, etc. But
that's correct. That's a completely different initiative that the president and the administration are putting forward for consideration. The Rescue Plan Act has already been passed by Congress and signed by the president. So right now we're in the process of writing those notice of funding opportunities. Again, the rules and regulation, they have to be, once they're finalized, they'll have to be approved by the Department of Commerce, which is our parent department, and approved by OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, before publishing. But once it's published, we'll be in a position to accept applications for these funds. The infrastructure plan that the president is talking about, and it's been in the press yesterday and today, and will be in the future as well, that's something completely different.
And would EDA have anything to do with those additional fundings, or no? You don't know?
We think not. We haven't heard that. I mean, obviously the law hasn't been written, so certainly if they decide that they want us to have a role, we'll certainly play that role gladly. But I tend to think that that's probably going to be completely different. We'll see.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Well, okay, we'll have to get together and talk about regional projects so we can take advantage of it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks
Robert.
for your attention.
Okay. You ought to call one of these cha-ching bill or something, whatever it is. Okay, we're going to go back to item 5, and item 5A1 is the road recycling tire disposal service request, which we tabled for, I think, to get additional information on proposals.
That's correct, sir.
Can I have a motion to take this item off the table, please?
I so move, Rick Salinas.
Second, Commissioner Garza.
Okay. We're going to make you standing second person.
Hey, whatever moves it along.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, say sign. Motion carried. Rick?
Good afternoon, Mr. President, everybody, members of the board. This is another action item and a few announcements for you guys before I move on and let the rest of the programs have their chance at the floor. My next action item is the consideration and action to approve the resolution of 2021 proclaiming April as National Fair Housing Month and supporting awareness of fair housing.
What about, we didn't do one, we just took it off the table.
Right.
You ready to
Okay.
vote for it?
Yeah.
Okay, cover that one first.
All right. The principles of fair housing are not only.
No. The road recycling.
Oh, road recycling.
Yeah, what do we, we're approving, what are we approving on that?
First item for road recycling, this is the approval of vendors that we have chosen, or the Solid Waste Advisory Committee chose for the road recycling. As some are aware that we went out for bid on this a couple of months ago on February 23rd. Those vendors, we got 2 proposals. One did not meet requirements, leaving us with 1 vendor, which the Solid Waste Advisory Committee approved of, which would be Republic Distributing or Republic Disposal. The bid tab is in front of you, along with the associated bid information and along with the timeline of the solicitation process, which follows with a save the date for the actual event to road recycling.
Now, normally I ask the question why we rejected the second one, but since it's lower per ton, right? Is it lower per ton?
Right. The other item on this is that because we tabled this, it gave us a chance to go back and look for other alternatives. We contacted the city of Brownsville because it's governmental. That would be interlocal agreement between us and the city of Brownsville. They have agreed to participate in the program to provide tire disposal services. And of course, that is at $100 per ton as well. So at this point, it is the approval of option A, Republic Services, and option B, Brownsville Landfill, which is also their tire disposal facility.
Okay. You heard the recommendation. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the recommendation for Republic Services with the Brownsville landfill.
So moved.
Commissioner Rick Salinas, so moved. That.
Okay, yes, second, Jim. We have a motion and second. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 2.
Yes, once again, consideration and action to approve resolution proclaiming April as National Fair Housing Month and supporting the awareness of fair housing. The principles of fair housing are not only national law, national policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans. National Fair Housing Month in April provides an opportunity for all Americans to recognize that complete success in the goal of equal housing opportunity can only be accomplished with the help and cooperation of all Americans.
Okay, so we're going to approve the resolution declaring April as National Fair Housing Month. All those, do I have a motion to approve?
Mayor Mendez and Brownsville, so moved.
Your Mayor, second.
Second, Maricela de Leon.
And Marcella. Okay, all in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. I don't think anybody would disapprove of that, would they? No. Okay, any other questions on Rick's report, community development? Any questions?
Need to make a couple of comments.
Okay, go ahead.
Some important meetings coming up. The next Regional Water Resource Advisory Committee is scheduled now for April 21st at 2:30 p.m. They do have a vacancy on that board for a large city representative. Just wanted to put that out there for everybody's interest. The next Region M meeting is actually scheduled for next Wednesday, April 7th. And both of these will be virtual, by the way. So wanted to make note of that. The Region M plan is also available online for those who are interested in seeing it. And the LRGVDC is a non-voting member of the Region 15 planning group, flood planning group. Their next meeting, I believe, is tomorrow morning at 8:30. Just wanted to make those known to everybody here in case they are interested in participating. And I believe that concludes my comments. If anybody has any questions, are free to ask. The other programmatic reports are in the packet.
Rick, the flood planning group will not be meeting tomorrow. We're sending out an email this afternoon. We will be meeting April 21st after the next deadline that we have to get things by.
Okay, good to know.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Reservoir levels. I didn't look at the report. We're fine. Is it
in the back?
I don't have it on.
Well, we can discuss reservoir levels real quick before we move on. because I know it is going to be of utmost importance as we move on because we are in a drought situation.
Yeah, for all those cities that have drought ordinances, we are now entered to another level, so we have to check those, please. Make sure that you go into different categories relating to most of our water, every other day water, year long, et cetera, but there are some other ones there. And my understanding is we still almost have 100% of the reservoir water from the system. Mexico hasn't provided releases
That's my understanding.
of yet, so it's all our water, but it's going fast. So let's keep conserving. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, folks. That concludes my report.
Okay. The next item is Health and Human Services, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, Mr. President, members of the board. I have two action items. The first one is consideration and action to add a vendor to our vendor pool. Our advisory council is recommending to add Progressive Skilled Home Health Services from FAR to provide homemaker and respite in-home care services. This contractor will be used by our case managers to provide those indicated services.
And they meet all our quality requirements, et cetera.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve that? The additional one contractor to the vendor pool?
City of Raymondville moves.
I have a second. Motion and second to approve the additional recommendation for the vendor pool.
¿Cómo se llama?
Services. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Item 2, Amigos del Valle budget.
Yes, sir. The advisory council is recommending approval to amend the Amigos del Valle budget. We have received the additional funding, especially for 2021, along with some of the prior year funding and the CARES funding and the Consolidated Appropriations Act. And so we're our current contract is for $1,003,000, and so we need to recommend the additional funding of I think it's $2,819,000 for home delivered meals.
Okay, any question? I had one. Do we have that many more applicants or people that are going to receive the meals? That's a lot of money.
Yes, they currently have a waiting list they're working out of, but somehow their delivery on meals for January and February really went down, and so it's surprising that the amount of need that we have and how their number of meals, especially in February, was like 48,000 meals, when in December it was 67,000 meals, and so we were wondering why, and their explanation is, of course, the cold spell that we had, that some I think they closed for about 3 days. So we have been continue talking to them and working with them so that they can move those from the waiting list over to receiving the meals.
So is there any indication of improving the meals, like from a quality standpoint? Not that they're bad, but I mean, there is opportunities for that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How did they come about with that figure, sir?
Pardon?
How did they come about with that figure of 2 point what?
Oh, on the figures is that we get our a monthly report, because on the number of meals that we reimburse them, and so we keep tab, because one of the things that their number of meals has really increased prior to pandemic number of meals, because the majority of all of them are home delivered meals. That includes those that were receiving meals at the community centers and those that were receiving home delivered meals. And so we be keeping tab on those meals that they're serving.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to amend the Amigos del Valle budget relating to the meal deliveries as presented. Everybody's at lunch.
I'll make a
Commissioner
motion.
Garza.
This is Ms. Gonzalez.
Well, Mayor Darling, I have a question, Commissioner Salinas. We're amending it because we have the money and because it needs to be spent, or so I think. Well, I'm set with a question here as to if we're amending it, but are we going to use it? Is that money really required? And I think you asked it already. Is that?
Yes, sir. We do need that money. One is we receive the money. It's actually dedicated for meals. Amigos del Valle is the only meal contractor we have, and so we do need those funds to pay for the meals that they have already provided.
I had a question. Does our money roll over if we don't spend it in the fiscal year?
Some of it may be carried over. It's what we call prior year, because we're still waiting for some additional prior year funding that the state has kind of advised us yesterday that we might not get it until June 30th, which only gives us 3 months after 3 months to spend that money. And so we will have a carryover.
Joe, why don't next meeting, for our regular meeting, give us a kind of report on how all this Meals on Wheels works, et cetera, and the relationship and in those I was on the board for years with Amigos del Valle, so I know, but let's have the board members talk about that, because it's they're the only contracted service, and it certainly is one of the more vital services that we provide through the Council of Governments. And maybe that would answer some questions too.
Sure.
Okay. Since we can roll over the money, I'd still entertain a motion to approve the amendment.
Commissioner Garza moves to approve.
We have a second. Commissioner, then you're seconding, I guess. We already have a motion. Okay, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Joe, anything on the other items?
No, sir. The rest are just status reports that were in the packet.
Great, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions on those? Hearing none, we move along to public safety. Mr. Snyder, you always have items.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. 2 action items for you. Action item number 1 is for consideration and action to approve the Homeland Security Advisory Committee's prioritization list for the 2021-2022 Homeland Security Grants Division. HSAC met on March 24th and recommends approval of the attached prioritization list for FY 2021-2022 Homeland Security Grants Division regional grant applications.
Okay. So those are both those items. Anybody have any questions on those items? And if not, maybe we'll take them both up at the same time, if you don't mind.
Second action item, Mayor, is actually to approve the purchase of telecommunications week items.
Okay, we'll separate that. Can I have a motion to, for item C1, which is the approval of the advisory committee prioritization of the regional grant application?
So moved by Maricela.
Yes. So moved.
Yes, motion second, Daddy.
Maricela.
Okay, a motion second for item C.
Yes.
And all those in favor say, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Snyder, number 2.
Mr. Mayor, the second action item is to approve the items requested for the National Telecommunications Week for the week of April 11th to 17th. For previous years, the 911 telecommunicators have consistently been recognized for their dedication and hard work, and this year we'd like to continue to recognize them with tokens of our appreciation featuring public safety 911 telecommunicator logos. The estimated cost for these items, $46,634.97. This was previously budgeted and approved by CSEC, and as required by procurement policy, all procurements exceeding $25,000 require the approval of the board of directors, and at this time we are requesting approval.
Okay. And who do these items go out to?
To our telecommunicators throughout the region.
Okay. Any
I
questions?
move, Marisol, I move to adopt this action item.
Have a second.
Eddie Ramos.
Okay. Yeah. I have a motion and a second to approve the expenditure for the recognition of the tokens of appreciation for 911 telecommunication. All those in favor say aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand. Opposed, same sign. Everybody? Motion carried. And I might want to congratulate you on the use of 911 for the shut-ins. It was extremely helpful. If you didn't see it, it had a map of all the shut-ins. You just pressed on had the name, and we got HIPAA approval, so it had the name and age for the vaccinations, and it really helped the program be successful. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other presentations, Mr. Snyder?
No, just our program status reports, which should be in everybody's packet, which does contain an update on some of the questions that were asked at last meeting.
Great. Okay, any questions of Mr. Snyder? Hearing none, we'll go on to transportation. Mr. Logan.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the board. This is Tom Logan. We do have one action item.
Is that the completion of the project?
That is completion of the project, yes. Those additional funds will be used to complete the first floor and the parking for the terminal at the city of Edinburgh.
Great, okay. And that's all within budget, et cetera.
Yes, sir.
And if you haven't been there, you ought to go by. It's a great location. So I have a motion to approve the amendment number 5 for the joint development of the Edinburgh Transit Terminal.
So moved. Rick Salinas.
Okay. Second by Marisela.
Okay. Any comments or questions relating to this item? Hearing none. Was there one there? Hearing one, all those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Sign. Motion carried. Tom, do you have anything on your report?
No, our report is included in the package. If there's any questions, I'll address them now.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Logan? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, new or unfinished business. Do we have any new or unfinished businesses? Oh, MPO, I'm sorry. How could I be sitting right there? I was trying to hurry for your meeting. Mr. Cannon, give your report.
Trying to hurry up to move you to a new building.
I'll do it quickly so I can continue to feel the love in the room. As Chairman announced, Secretary Buttigieg has come out with a proposal of $3 trillion on the transportation bill. We're waiting to see how that's going to be funded. We were very hopeful that, or some of us were very hopeful that there would be a transition to vehicle miles traveled, getting us away from gas tax at the pump, so we could incorporate taxes on electrical vehicles that are using the roadways, and the number of those vehicles are growing daily, and right now they pay nothing into the infrastructure. So there needs to be a way to capture those individuals to see how we can do that. So I'm hopeful they'll do that. And we're pretty excited about House Bill 2219 as presented by Chairman Canales on the transportation side. It would allow TxDOT to go back and reinstate the Transportation Mobility Fund, allowing them to sell bonds and bringing forward about $3 billion in additional roadway dollars. It'd be about $1.5 billion in 1 year, and 2 years later, another issuance of another $1.5 billion. It worked very well when we used it previously, so we're hopeful that that will make it through this legislative session as an additional tool of funding. And that's all of the update that I have.
I had a question on your first statement. How do you measure the miles driven? of individuals?
Well, if I think most people here have seen like the Progressive car insurance commercials, they have a plug-in that they actually, most cars nowadays have additional ports. And they monitor your driving habits, whether you accelerate quickly, brake quickly, things like that. The test that they did, pilot studies up in the Northwest and Seattle and so forth, worked off the same principle. It was a plug-in device, simply kept clicks on the odometer. And when you went in annually to pay for your vehicle registration, they would plug that in. It would be miles times 0.00, whatever the cents were. And you paid for your taxes all at that one time instead of the gas tax. As we know, the gas tax is a very regressive tax. Hasn't gone up since the 90s. CAFE standards or vehicle miles, MPGs on vehicles have gone up considerably since the 90s. And now with the inclusion of electronic vehicles, we're just not capturing as much gas tax revenue as we used to.
I understand. Okay. Any other questions? Going once, twice? Okay. Then we'll move on to the next item, new or unfinished business. Any new or unfinished business?
Just want to remind everybody that for next month, April 28th, we're going to have another orientation. And this time around, it's going to be the public safety program, which consists of criminal justice, homeland security, regional police academy, the fire academy, and 911 program. So we highly encourage you to attend, participate, and email will be sent out by Debbie, more than likely about 11:30ish. That's the time that we'll meet for the pre-meeting orientation of public safety.
Yeah, we didn't have very many people for this morning's one, Health and Human Services, but it's a great way for the board members, not only orientation for new board members who haven't been through one, but also to catch up and existing board members to catch up and ask questions. And so I would strongly encourage y'all to go there as members, as the governing board for this entity. No other further business. We'll stand adjourned. Stay safe, everybody. All leaving slowly but surely.